It's so very nice to be here and just to see so many beautiful, beautiful souls here to celebrate Guru Purnima and just doing that which is the highest and greatest of all, which is trying to find God through a Satguru. And I'll talk today especially about the Satguru. Guru Purnima also celebrates teacher and guru on many levels. But for those of us who want to find God, it's the Satguru is the one who will take us there. And it's perhaps, well, it's the greatest blessing according to Adi Shankara and obviously to all of us on all three worlds to have a true guru. And so I'll talk a little bit today about what is the guru, how to get the most from that, and we'll talk about Yoganandaji particularly, but really this is a universal principle that applies to all Satguru. As many of you know, I'm just back from the United States. It's been 2 months since I was in Mumbai. I literally was on my way to the airport the last weekend I was here 2 months ago. And I visited Ananda Village, which is an ashram in California started by Swami Kriyanandaji. And it's been the first time in 2 years since I've been there. And it's the most amazing place on earth. People have been practicing guru devotion and guru seva meditation for 50 years there. And every step of ground there is blessed. You feel that. Every step you take, you feel the holiness and the power that comes from people drawing on the Guru's consciousness. And people sometimes think, well, it must be easy to live in a place like that. And the answer is yes and no. Yes, because you have examples of people who have done this, but it's not that people's lives are easy. People still have their karma to work through. People have extraordinary karma to work through. Yoganandaji once said that an easy life is not a victorious one. And I wish that an easy life could also be a victorious one, but we just have not seen that. And the mind sometimes asks, why does it have to be that way? I mean, why couldn't it be easy and spiritually victorious? Who knows why? It's just the way God did this. And so people's lives at Ananda, it's really the spiritual heroism of guru power and guru attunement that really stands out in my mind every time I visit. And there's a friend there who I've shared about him before, but I spent more time with him again this time. And for me, he's the ultimate spiritual hero for me at Ananda. I've known him for 40 years. I don't think anyone in this room has ever heard of him, knows him. He's never given a talk. He's not an acharya. He's never written a song, a book, even a blog. He's a very simple person. But in fact, he's one of these people who has overcome great tests and achieved extreme spiritual heights and victory. He has, as I've shared with you before, it's that my friend has very advanced Parkinson's disease, which is a neurological disease that just causes the whole body and nervous system to start breaking down, and he can barely walk around. He staggers around like he's drunk, and he just has extreme physical limitation. Yet he's always giving. He's never, ever thinking of himself. He's always serving, always giving, cleaning up the forest. And this time you could see that it was getting much worse. And I out of concern, I asked his wife one time, because I could see that he's always joyful. He went up for the blessing from Jyotishan Deviji at Ananda Village at a satsang. And rather than staggering, he was almost crawling and just stumbling and getting up there. And there was a blissful smile on his face the whole time. And his only concern was that he was making a scene by what he was doing, but that was his only self-consciousness. And again, he's always giving. But I asked his wife, out of concern, is he always like this, or does he ever get sad or upset about his situation or self-involved or concerned? And she said, her answer, the first answer was the whole answer that I needed. She said, I'm the luckiest woman on earth. She said, I'm married to the sweetest person on this entire earth. And I asked, does he ever get down or upset? And she said, when he wakes up in the morning, he cannot move his body, literally. And it takes him a long time just to get going. The whole time he sings to God. Always have I loved thee, ever shall I love thee, thee alone. And then she said one time she saw him a little bit down and a little bit sad, and he was sitting on the porch. And she came to him and asked him, how are you doing? And she could see, and he just said very quickly, I just need to chant a little bit more, I'll be fine. And that was the only time she ever saw anything like that. And so you see, the spiritual life and the power that the Guru gives us is to help us overcome our most difficult karmas. And it's why we all came, I think, with a great Guru. Maybe we chose the greatest Guru, a great avatar, because we had the greatest karmas to overcome, and he can do it. And this is what I've seen over many, many years of people attuning to the infinite power of the Guru. And that power is infinite. It's not a human form, it's not a person, it's the power of God, and it has the power to change us. Swami Kriyanandaji, early in his time with Yogananda, I think he understood more than many others there that the power of the Guru was inside. And he said this time and again. He said, the Guru, Yogananda, it's not the words and it's not the teachings. It's the infinite power of God flowing through him. And he said early in his time, it's a story that many of us know, Swamiji was working on developing devotion. He was very intellectual, and he wanted to develop more devotion. He was doing a lot of chanting, a lot of meditation, a lot of calling and praying to God, and he was starting to make progress. And he felt a little bit pleased with the efforts that he had put out and the fact that those efforts had resulted in progress. And then he was told one time that Yoganandaji said to some of the disciples, look how I've changed Walter, referring to Kriyananda. Look how I've changed Walter. And Swamiji realized, of course, it wasn't his efforts, it was the Guru's power, changing a karma that probably could not be changed any other way. And so again, that power is infinite. If we have seemingly infinite bad karma, the Guru can also work through that. There was a great disciple of Master, Sister Ganamata, who said time and again that the relationship with the Guru is inside. It's not outside. It's not just writings and talks and pictures. It's inside. And one time, the disciples, other disciples were all excited because Yoganandaji was coming back from a long visit. And they were very excited. The Guru is coming, the Guru is coming. And Ganamata was standing there completely within herself. And while everyone was getting very excited, saying the Master is coming, and looking at her, aren't you excited about this? And she wasn't. But she said, he is always with me. And so for her, there was no separation of that infinite consciousness in the human form. And because of that, she got much more from that relationship. There was a film with interviews of disciples of Yogananda. It was very interesting because it had their different perspectives on the Guru. And maybe the editor of the film tried to water it down for the masses, I don't know. But it was also disappointing because one person would say, oh, Yogananda, he had such a sense of humor and he was so funny and this and that, or he was a really good cook or this, and oh, his face was such and such. And it was all very personal, talking about the personal form. But there was one disciple who really got it right. And she, the way she says it is so sort of poignant and deep and true. She said that when she first met him, I was awed at the immensity of his consciousness and intuitively knew it was not limited in the same way ordinary human consciousness is limited. His eyes were alive with eternity. Coming into his presence, it was as if hundreds of thousands of unseen veils were pulled back, one after another. Then a voice of silence said to me, you have always wondered if anyone exists who is beyond human limitation, beyond greed, selfishness, anger. Then that voice said, and it apparently this is the voice of God, said, I am Yogananda. The voice then qualified that statement by saying, Yogananda has become me. And then she went on to say that though you were aware of his power, you also knew instantly when you beheld him that he loved you unconditionally. You recognized it, this unconditional eternal love, as that which you had been seeking your entire life. And you realized that nothing was more important than your attaining the consciousness he possessed. But then she added sort of the fine print that comes up sometimes with this relationship with the Guru. But what he had to do to help us accomplish this goal, that was a different matter. And she was talking about the fact that tests and karmas come, that we can't avoid it, but that the Guru's infinite help comes through that. Now, people sometimes think sentimentally of the Guru, and Swami Kriyanandaji has sort of bemoaned this sometimes, where people come up to him and say to him, oh, Yoganandaji helped me to find a parking place when I really needed one, or he helped me to find an apartment. And Swamiji's always a little bit irritated by this, because yes, Yoganandaji does give us those things, but he came to give us moksha. He came to give us liberation. And so he was always a little frustrated when people would bring it down to simply a very human level. And yet that infinite consciousness also expresses itself in very real ways. And I've seen this with Swami Kriyanandaji, because the Guru doesn't sit up in the heavens and just send his blessings from far away from his throne on the astral plane, saying, bless you, my children, may you find God in this lifetime. The Guru actually takes on a physical body and takes a physical form and comes down, and you will find that true infinite love that the Guru has also finds human and even very practical expression at times in very real ways. And so if we want to try to tune into that consciousness, we want to try to tune into that infinite depth there and that infinite love and kindness. But when we act as an instrument for the Guru, we want to also express it the way the Guru did, which was to, when we want to help someone, ask them, whether mentally or out loud, how can I help you? Because this is what Yoganandaji did. And sometimes it was in very mundane ways. He didn't hold back from actively expressing love. And true love finds active expression. It's not just a sentiment, it's not just words, it's not just a platitude or a pious few words. One very strange example Swami Kriyanandaji gave. There was a young boy who came to Yoganandaji's ashram with his mother. And Yoganandaji was trying to get him to really take a serious step on the spiritual path. And this boy just was never very serious in any way. And finally Yoganandaji accepted that this boy was not going to dedicate this life to God. And so one day he bought this boy a little toy airplane, and a strange gift from the Guru to buy a boy a toy airplane. And this boy, when he saw this airplane, his eyes lit up. He got so excited. He started playing and flying the airplane. And it turns out this boy eventually became an airplane pilot. And he had samskars and a deep desire to be an airplane pilot. Yoganandaji saw it. He saw that he wasn't going to awaken these deep spiritual samskars, and he knew this other had to be fulfilled. And he awakened this desire that was already there, but he knew had to be fulfilled, and helped this boy fulfill his wish to become an airplane pilot. Very mundane, very practical. But the Guru comes to us where we are at, but if we don't limit him in his consciousness, and we don't work with just this very sentimental and purely very personal way of relating to him, we'll find that we get the most from him. We get the power to change. And this we've seen over the years with those who have been disciples for many years. In some ways, that's almost the greatest advantage that some of us have of having lived in an ashram where people have been doing these things for 40 or 50 years, is that you see unending examples of what I just described of this man. And you just see divine friendship, you see people giving to each other. I see this very often here, and I wish I could see it more here and everywhere, where people who are disciples of Yogananda offer their friendship to their Guru Bhais in spiritual ways, but also in very practical ways. And again, my friend, this great saint at Ananda, who can barely walk around sometimes, every springtime I'll get a phone call from him out of the blue, and I was fortunate to be at Ananda Village for the 6 weeks there in the springtime. And he'll call me and he'll say, Devarshi, the cherries on the tree are getting ripe, And if we don't pick them right now, the birds are going to eat all of them. And so I immediately have to drop everything I'm doing and go pick cherries with my friend. And literally it's true. And his only desire is that he wants to pick those cherries so that he can share them with all his friends. And I think it's also an excuse to share satsang with me and bless me. And so we spend the afternoon climbing this really tall ladder, going way up into these trees. And here he has this physical thing that he could go sailing out of the tree at any time and drop to the ground, but no thought of self, just thought of joyful giving without any sense of his own limitation. And I've seen that this is the way to freedom. The guru has no limitation. The guru is infinite consciousness. And when the disciple tunes into that infinite consciousness, the disciple has no limitation. Even though there are maybe severe physical, emotional, relationship, familial karmas and limitations, if we think of giving to others, giving to God, serving the guru, that in fact is the way out of freedom. It's the way out of limitation. And you can see this man, again, the karma outwardly maybe hasn't changed. Maybe it has. Maybe it's been limited and healed a lot more than it would have been otherwise. But he's one who has had a victorious life. When it comes time for him to go, I think he will find either complete freedom or a high degree of freedom. And again, he's just, quote, an ordinary soul. He's not an acharya. He has no role or position in Ananda Sangha. He's just sort of every man, every woman, every disciple who has given his life to tuning into the Guru's infinite consciousness. This is what Swami Kriyanandaji did. When you were around him and saw his life, there was so much intensity of physical karma, of past karma that he was working out, perhaps karma for others. And yet again, there was never thought of anything else except giving to others, serving the Guru. And again, this divine love, this divine kindness, even though the Guru is infinite consciousness, those disciples who really understand realize that it must find practical and outward expression to be real in a way. Sister Gyanamata, the saint I was talking about, said that one's religion is tested in the cold, hard light of day. And in a way, this is also true for tuning into the Guru's infinite consciousness. And so find ways to give to others, to offer practical help to others, whether it's climbing a tree and picking cherries or helping them in many mundane ways. This is again the beauty that I've seen of Ananda Village, because you have 250 people living there and you have a lot of karma coming up. You have just every karma you could possibly imagine, everything that you see around you among all of you here. And yet you see people always reaching out to people and just asking that question, how can I help this person? Rather than waiting to be asked to help someone, people much more commonly are asking themselves and looking around for ways to help, ways to serve, ways to give. And this is the proactive disciple consciousness that is so common here. I see it in so many of you. And always be aware of it in consciousness. And it doesn't have to be serving Ananda Sangha. It can just be simply serving one of your Guru Bhais or helping anybody in any way as an instrument for the Guru. And this finally is one of the really great things that Swami Kriyanandaji gave us. More than any of the other disciples of Master, he was very clear that the disciple had a duty, a responsibility, which sounds like a heavy way of putting it, more like the great blessing to act as an instrument for the Guru. You don't have to be exalted and a direct disciple and be on the Guru's right hand, and you don't have to be on the spiritual path for 40 years. You can be on the path for one day. When the Guru's power touches you and you open yourself to that, Swamiji often said that from that moment you can act as an instrument for the Guru. And in fact, he said that's how we grow as disciples, is by acting as an instrument for the Master's blessings. And so on this very blessed Guru Purnima day, try not to see the Guru, one, as something or somebody that's out there, that's separate from us. when over the years, I would ask Swamiji only a few times about different questions about the spiritual life. The questions and his answers always came back to the Guru. Without exception, they always came back to the Guru. And one time he said, when you're meditating, don't feel that the Guru is out there. You're here and you're praying to the Guru. He said, feel that you and the Guru are one. Feel that you are in the Guru's body, the Guru is in your body, that your astral bodies have merged and you have become one. And feel that you're praying in the Guru, inside the Guru. And he said that is the real way that infinite power will change us. Not by worshiping the Guru as something far away. And yes, that's the first step, is to call to the Guru, come to me, be within me. But try to see that as only the beginning step. And so for Guru Purnima Day, let's just try to celebrate, not by just receiving, which is also part of it, but by also giving. Find a way to give. Give the Guru's grace, give the Guru's power, give the Guru's blessings to others. When we do receive, try to feel that the Guru's infinite power and strength is helping us. There are no limitations. And again, I can say that I have seen this too many times to really anymore doubt the power of the Guru to change each and every single person in this room and help us with karmas that are seemingly impossible to overcome. And in some ways, I think this is almost the Guru's grace. I think, and I've seen this in my own self with some karmas and pain and grief that I've had in my own life, that the Guru pushed me to the point where I was basically brought to my knees, and the only direction I could go was to the Guru and the Guru's power. I tried everything else, nothing else had worked. And in the end, I think that was a great blessing that these karmas came to me, because it pushed me in the direction of the Guru and the understanding that when we draw on that infinite power, we can be changed infinitely and forever and freed from all delusion, from all karmas, permanently, and finally free in God. That's the promise that the Satguru gives us. That's the hope the Satguru gives us. And again, let's really, with Guru Purnima, let's take it to that deepest level of feeling the Guru's infinite power changing us, but also taking that power and sharing it with others. So may this celebration be one of both receiving and of giving, and may the Guru's grace and blessings be with us always. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.